What up, movie lovers? This is Apocaflix Movies, and we are here today to review a film that released recently titled Eddie the Eagle. For those of you who don't know, it's based on the real-life story of Eddie Edwards. He's a British man who went to the Olympics for ski jumping and wasn't really an athlete, and it was just his dream his whole entire life to go to the Olympics, and he's portrayed by Taron Egerton, and his coach is portrayed by Hugh Jackman. And I'm your host, Jacob Bartley. I'm joined by Jake Berlin. We're here to review the film. Jake, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk Eddie the Eagle, man.
I don't know why his name skipped out of my head. I've been buzzing about this guy. I want him to play Han Solo. I freaking loved Kingsman, so I should have had his name right. My bad for that. But for those of you who don't know how this works, we're just going to give our general impressions of the film, talk about our positives, our negatives, and then we have a segment titled the WTF moment, just one moment or one scene that shocked us or stood out to us or we thought was stupid or we loved. It can be anything that just really was like, wow. And then we're going to round it out with a recommendation, who we would recommend it to, and give it a score out of 10. So without further ado, let me start with you, Jake. How did you feel just overall about Eddie the Eagle?
I was so flipping inspired.
Really?
Like watching this
Nice.
movie. And you know my background. I'm a sports guy. I
Yeah.
coach baseball for a living. Background is pure athletic. So I am a sucker and kind of biased towards sports movies. They get me, and some of them aren't good, obviously, but some of them are great. And I had such a good time watching this. I went last night late. I was literally the only one in the theater watching it. I had the entire theater to myself.
Really?
So I was sitting there, be able to enjoy it with nobody around me.
Pull your phone out and I'll just play.
Well, it was sitting there,
kidding.
but I had such a fun time watching it, and it's an inspiring story, and
Yeah.
it's not the greatest story. Obviously, the dude, spoiler, he didn't win, but
he never thought
he
would. Anyway.
won what he wanted to win,
Yeah.
and he never gave up, and he's the true definition of what an athlete should be, a competitor. The dude just would not stop, man, and
Yeah.
it's so much fun and compelling, and like I said, inspiring. And Taron Egerton and Hugh Jackman, phenomenal job with the movie and their performances, especially Taron Egerton. The dude just, after seeing him in Kingsman, the range he displayed is crazy good. And so yeah, I had a ton of fun watching it.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this movie as well. It's not a great film, but I personally really enjoyed it. I was really inspired. I got chills a couple times just because the determination by this character, Eddie Edwards, and just how he never gave up. It just made me feel bad about myself. Like, you try things and you give up on it, and like this guy, didn't have a shot in hell to win, but he still never gave up. And he has those little moments where Hugh Jackman's character tells him, like, you're not going to win. You're probably going to come in last place. And he's like, I'm okay with that. He's like, I just want to be there. I just want to compete. And it's truly inspiring. Great performances. I definitely had a few flaws with the film, but we'll get into that later. But just overall, it's a feel-good movie. It was never meant to be an Oscar contender. It's never meant to be a huge blockbuster. It's just, sometimes you get these little gems throughout the year that are just, fun to watch and make you feel good. And they star two actors that I really enjoy. So for that reason, I really enjoyed the film. So let's get into some of the positives and some of the reasons why we did like it. I'll go ahead and start just first of all, right off the bat, Taron Egerton. He's so likable. He played this role very well. So at the end of the movie, they showed pictures of the real guy.
It looks just like him.
And it's just the body language. He pulled that off so well. And the character in Kingsman is so different. He played like a cool badass in Kingsman. And in this movie, he's obviously playing a clumsy, like nerdy type character, and he did such a great job. I was very pleased to see Hugh Jackman do something different. I was telling you earlier, I want to see him do more different roles, not just these action films. And other than the Wolverine and X-Men movies, I can't really think of some of the work he's done lately. So maybe after he does Wolverine 3, he'll go more into these other type of films.
He was in Les Mis, the remake.
Oh,
right?
that's true, right?
He was
nominated. I think he was nominated for Best
I think
Actor.
he was, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, he's definitely doing
Yeah,
these little
no,
things,
definitely,
but
yeah.
he's not. It's not like he's doing one movie a year that's not X-Men. So I'd like to see him step out. So I was glad to see him step
Yeah.
out. I just I love that it was very inspiring, and there's like a bunch of moments like just the message, like, don't give up, even if you don't have a chance in hell to be the best at what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, you want to do something, don't give up. So overall, just the message was very inspiring. And, there's a lot of just little moments. One inspiring moment for me was, at the end when they're going up to the 90 millimeter jump and you have the number one ranked guy in the world, the champion, and they're rolling up together. And at first you think this guy's a douche, right? And then when he says,
it's so good.
That was probably my favorite moment in the whole film, because
good.
he says, to me, he says, look, I'm going to be even if I win, if I don't try my best, I'm not going to be happy. And he told Eddie, me and you are the same in that if we don't do our best, we're not going to be happy. Even though you come in last place, I come in first place. It doesn't matter. The placing doesn't matter. It's our personal, we try our best. And that moment to me, I got a little emotional in that. Not choked up, but I got chills, because that moment really stood out to me. And there was a few other moments like that throughout the film, but just overall, those were my positives. What about you, Jake?
You touched on many of them. Taron Egerton, he did such a great job. Like I said earlier, the range that he displayed, going from a character like Kingsman to this character, I think he's now the lock to be Han Solo.
I hope so.
And
I really hope so.
It's definitely a hard character to put on screen, I would say. I think it's a hard character to tap into.
True.
Because he had to do the underbite, and he had to talk a certain way, and he had to look a certain way in certain scenes and act a certain way. Not very many young actors can do that.
Oh,
and,
no.
He did a really, really good job. And Hugh Jackman, like you said, I love watching the guy on screen. He's one of my favorite actors. I would definitely like to see him do more dramatic roles, and whenever I am able to see him on screen, it's always a treat. The story itself is phenomenal. It's a true sports story. It's inspiring. It's determining, and it's just fun to watch. And you said you didn't get choked up, but I actually got choked up at certain points, and I grew a few tears near the end of the movie.
Oh wow!
And but that elevator scene you spoke of is great, and
probably my favorite.
Yeah,
moment of the whole
the fact
film.
that it's based on true story, and that we don't know if it actually happened or not, but the fact that it could have and most likely did happen. Kudos to both of them, especially the number one ski jumper in the world at that time. It's just there's so many good things. There was great comedy moments. There was great dramatic moments. I was floored by the music. The music is like this 80s video game vibe, and
it really drove the movie.
It was so much. It was like a fun feel to it, and it's exactly what you want from a sports story. And it captured Eddie the Eagle perfectly. You see the images at the end of the movie when it's going over, and you see what this character was like in real life, and you see a lot of those shots and real pictures that are in the movie, and they tried to do their best to give this character and this story justice throughout the movie, and I thought they did a really good job of it. Yeah,
so overall, we had a lot of positives, but obviously no movie is perfect. There's definitely some negatives. So, Jake, what about the movie, did you thought could have been done a little bit better?
I think there were two that really, really stood out to me. First off, there were a couple moments in the movie where the animation was off. CGI.
Okay. I didn't notice that.
It felt very, I guess I would say flat. You could really tell.
Now that I think
obvious,
about it, I see.
That's obvious, bodies are flying down mountains and stuff. It kind of makes sense that they have to do that, but it didn't look as real as I hoped it would. So it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit. I was like, wow, they could have done a better job at that. And then the second one is, I get that it served the story and whatnot, but it kind of, at certain times, felt like it was getting a little too silly and slapsticky at certain moments within the film. I get that that's what the story is, and it deserves that, and it fits into the story. But I wish it would have stayed with one certain tone without the movie instead of kind of veering back and forth between a bunch. It never took me out of it, but it just kind of made me wonder what it could have been if it really stuck to one or two maybe. So those are kind of the two, and I'm sure I'll have some of the ones you say. So.
No, those are two things that weren't my initial negatives, but now that you mention them, I totally agree with you. There was a few moments where I was like, that's a little too slapsticky, But then, they were trying to, build chemistry between the two leads.
Exactly.
So it made sense. But for me, one huge negative that really had me very upset, but by the end of the movie, I was okay with it, is just they made it like, so everyone was against him, right? And so they had his dad, his team members, the head of the British Olympics thing.
The association.
So, and they just kept bashing you over the head with, oh, everyone hates him. Not everyone in real life is just, excuse my language, 100% pure dick. Like, and they made the head of the British Olympics Academy 100% pure dick. They made his teammates 100% pure dick. Up until the very one little thing at the end with his dad. His dad was 100% pure dick. Like, sure, his dad wants to be a realist and have him work in the real world and not pursue this dream, but no dad is just like 100% pure dick like that, you know? And excuse my language again, but I don't know how else to get that across, because I was really upset with the movie and it kept coming back. I was really enjoying the film. Like, I was like, oh man, this is going really well. And then, you know, they bash you over the head with his dad being rude. They bash you over the head with the head of the British Olympics being rude. They bash you over the head with his teammates picking on him and being rude. And I was like, really? Like, I'm sure they all gave him a rough time in real life, but I guarantee you it was not that bad. So
I agree with you.
That's my one huge negative.
I think it kind of got over the top a little bit. It got a little annoying after a while.
It really did. Yeah. And it's like, you know, when he first met the number one ranked guy in the world,
the Finn,
he was a little bit of a douche to him. But then at the end, you know, we see he kind of redeemed himself as a character. He was, you know, that was a really touching moment.
There was a payoff, yeah.
And you see, that was more realistic to me, you know, because at first he didn't know him, so he's like, "Do you want an autograph?" You know, and he didn't do it. So whatever, that wasn't really that douchey, but everyone else was just a total douche to him, and they just bashed you over the head with it. That was my one huge negative for me. Yeah, but other than that, I agree with you on the special effects not being that great. And I was looking up the production budget; it's only $23 million, so you know, maybe they didn't have that much time or the budget to make the special effects as good as they could have been. And then I agree with you. Some of the comedy moments were just too over the top. But other than that, you know, I really enjoyed watching the film. So let's move on to our WTF moment. So I was asking you about this, Jake. You didn't decide yet, but have you decided what is your WTF moment?
Yeah, there's kind of a few that popped in my head. I mean, I think the big climactic moment in the end is definitely one you can think of where, you know, he lands the big jump.
Okay.
He's on his back and he pulls himself forward.
It seemed like almost impossible.
Yeah, and but I think the one for me is because in a way, I guess I wasn't expecting it at the time, but when Eddie goes and tells Hugh Jackman's character that they counted the practice run, and he's saying, "No, we don't go this year. We go 4 years from now." Like, he's trying to tell him, "We get better. Don't do it now." Like, I was kind of thrown off by it because I wasn't expecting it to happen.
Yeah, me too.
I get why he did it, though. He's like, we go to the Olympics, you want to win. But, Eddie's he's always wanted to be just an Olympian. He's never really thought about winning medals. He just wanted to be there. And for the character to stick to his guns and be like, I'm going to the Olympics. I'm doing this right now. You're either with me or you're not. And the fact that Hugh Jackman's character kind of almost walked away from it until later on when there was a payoff, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was one for me just because it kind of threw me off a little bit, thinking that he wasn't there the entire time. He didn't support him all the way until there was that interview where he did with the press saying this and this and this. And
definitely.
But I think those are the two that really stand out. I think the one you're going to speak of definitely stands out to me as well. But those are definitely the two that are standouts.
Well, yeah, I agree with you on where, like, that kind of came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, you feel like Hugh Jackman's character would be like, "Oh, awesome, let's go." But then it makes sense to me, though.
It did. I agree.
Hugh Jackman's thinking, like, wait a minute. If we train for another 4 years, he could actually compete. Yeah. He's learned this much that quick.
In less than a year.
Like, he could actually compete. But then I understand Eddie's point of view, too. Like, no, I just want to go to the Olympics.
And there was also a part of me, like, while I was watching, I'm like, okay, now Hugh Jackman's character is living through Eddie. He wanted to do the Olympics because he was banned from the Olympics.
So, no, it makes total sense. But for me, my WTF moment is kind of a comedic moment in a way. So, they're drinking at the bar, and, right outside the bar you have all the ramps, and the huge, I believe he goes on the biggest one, right?
The 90-meter,
the 90-meter ramp. So Hugh Jackman's character is an alcoholic in the film, and, after a night of drinking, he already got knocked out, and he wakes up, and they're drinking more.
Yeah.
And then what does he say? He's like, enough playing around or something like that.
He's like, it's showtime or something like that.
Yeah, it's showtime. And he gets up and he climbs up to the top of the ramp, and it's like, you got like this cool music song. It's kind of like in slow motion. He lights up his cigarette.
I love the flick of the cigarette.
And he lights up his cigarette, and he lights it, and he just takes and he starts going down, and he takes like 2 puffs, and he flicks the cigarette out.
Did you notice that it hit the screen and bounced back?
Did it?
Yeah,
Oh,
it hit a camera.
Yeah, that was kind of cool, and I liked the moment. But
So did
for
I.
me, it was like it kind of came out of nowhere. Like it kind of switched tones for that one scene.
Mm-hmm.
Like it kind of felt like, I don't know, like maybe like a skit or something. But usually when a movie does that, it's a negative thing. For me, I enjoyed the scene, so it was kind of cool. But I was smiling the whole time because I love Hugh Jackman, and he's such a badass. He's like one of the only actors that can pull that off.
Well, I love that he's in tight Wranglers with cowboy boots, doing a long jump ski.
And he's like super, super drunk.
Yeah.
So imagine how good he is at ski jumping if he did that totally.
I'm
belligerent.
very interested to see if that actually happened. Like, just research and see if that actually happened.
Oh, in the real
because
story.
it's based on a true story.
Yeah,
so.
I doubt it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
that
you
would
never
be
know,
pretty
though.
cool. So for me, in a positive, that was my WTF moment for sure. So, all right, well, let's move on to our recommendation segment. Jake, would you recommend this to general audiences or just a specific niche audience?
I'd recommend it to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a story that everybody should see, whether you like it or not. I mean, yeah, he doesn't win, but especially for young athletes and parents who have young athletes, this is a great story to kind of let them watch to see sports isn't just about winning. It's not about winning. It's about doing what you love and getting to a level of what you think you need to be at. And I had such a good time watching it, and like I said, I teared up at the end. It got me, it choked me up, and it made me happy. I was smiling as he was making that final jump because he was just having fun. And Hugh Jackman yells release, and he releases. Speaking of release, when he yells release and Taron Egerton releases, everybody starts yelling.
Yeah.
That scene was so good. It's such a fun time, and to see him flap his wings, and it's an all around good time, and I would recommend it to everybody. Go support the film because, like I said, I was in a theater by myself last night, and nobody was there. I think this movie deserves all kinds of money. So yeah, I would recommend it to everybody possible.
I have a little off subject, but let's say you were going to see The Witch and you walked into the theater and no one else was in there. Would you stay there and watch it?
Yeah, but I'd be scared, man. I'd be freaked out.
I would probably leave. I would probably go switch movies. But anyways, yeah, I would recommend this to general audiences. It's a feel-good sports story, and it's not just about sports. It's about whatever you want to do in life, whatever your dream is. Don't let anyone tell you can't do it until you actually try to do it.
Yep.
Don't give up, and that's pretty much the message. I mean, it's a cliched message. We've seen it so many times, but this is a real life story that actually portrayed that message in real life, so it was fitting for the film. So yeah, I definitely recommend it for general audiences. I think pretty much anyone can enjoy something in this movie for sure. So all right, well, let's give it a score out of 10. Jake, what do you give Eddie the Eagle out of 10?
I kind of went back and forth on this a little bit.
Yeah, me too. I can't. I still haven't decided.
Listening to the positives and negatives, and just speaking about it, I really, really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna go with an 8.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
like I said,
That's awesome. That's
I
awesome.
I said it before. I'm kind of biased. I'm an athlete. That's my background, and sports stories get me. But I thought it was just such a good movie. It's such a different sports movie too. And but yeah, I'm gonna give it an 8.5.
Yeah, I kept going back and forth with this. See, I really enjoyed the film. Like, I had a great time with it. I was smiling most of the movie, but I don't think it's a great movie or like really, really good. I think it's good. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a 7.5 out of 10, but that's not a bad score.
No, not at all.
I really enjoyed the film. So, yeah, I got it a 7.5. You got an 8.5. Great scores. Definitely recommend this movie, so go out and see it. All right, that's going to do it for our Eddie the Eagle review. Jake, let them know where they can find you online.
Twitter, Instagram at Qui-Gon Jake, and yeah, hit that like and share button, guys.
And you can find me, Jacob Bartley, on Twitter at @JacobBartley_. And you can find me on this Apocaflix Movie News podcast. Please subscribe. Please hit that like button. Until next time, thank you all for listening.